There comes a moment in your walk with God when you learn that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. There are things heaven plants inside you that are too delicate to survive the noise of public opinion. And if you rush to tell the world what God whispered in private, you may expose a seed that was meant to grow unseen. Every divine calling begins as a hidden seed. No applause, no recognition, only obedience. Because what grows in silence cannot be uprooted by envy. You see, men cannot destroy what they do not know. There is a power in keeping sacred things quiet, in guarding your destiny from careless ears. Sometimes God will ask you to walk in obedience without announcing your assignment, to move when no one understands, to build when no one believes. Because what God does in secret is preparing you for a day when your fruit will speak for itself. The greatest anointing is not found in what you declare, but in what you quietly surrender. Heaven moves in silence. Even Jesus, before he stepped into public ministry, spent 30 years hidden. 30 years of preparation for 3 years of purpose. It's not the silence that kills you, it's the silence that strengthens you. Do not be quick to tell people what you are building. Some will cheer, but others will mock. Some will pretend to understand, while secretly hoping you fail. And some, my friend, are not equipped to carry the weight of your calling. There are moments when God deliberately blinds those around you so they cannot see what He's doing through you. Not because you are forgotten, but because you are being formed. There's something beautiful about being unknown when heaven knows your name. Never underestimate the danger of premature revelation. When you speak before time, you invite voices that can corrupt what was meant to be pure. A vision shared too soon becomes a battlefield of opinions. Protect what is holy. Guard it until it matures. The enemy can only fight what he can see. Keep your plans in the shadows of prayer. Let your faith be loud in your obedience, not in your announcements. And oh, how strong is the one who chooses silence over validation. There is a sacred confidence in knowing you don't need to explain what God is doing with you. You just keep walking. You keep trusting. You keep believing. Because the strength of the unknown is your covering. When others ask, "What are you doing?" just smile and say, "I'm waiting on God." Because mystery is not a sign of confusion. It is a sign of protection. God hides His most precious works under a veil until the appointed time. And then one day, when the world least expects it, your life will speak. It will speak of every hidden prayer, every quiet tear, every unseen act of faith. You won't need to prove yourself, because the fruit will testify. That is the reward of divine timing, when what you carried in silence bursts forth in glory. So hold your peace. Keep your secrets holy. Let the unseen hand of God write your story in silence. For when He is ready to reveal you, not even the loudest doubt can silence the sound of His purpose fulfilled in you. There is a sacred power in what no one sees. The hidden seed carries within it a mystery that cannot be explained, only revealed in time. When God places something in your spirit, a dream, a calling, a vision, it often begins in obscurity. No spotlight, no stage, no audience to applaud you. Just soil, darkness, and waiting. But that darkness is not your punishment, it is your protection. For every seed must first die in silence before it ever rises in strength. The greatest things God ever does are not shouted from the rooftops. They are whispered in secret places where faith is the only light you have. You see, the seed never complains about the dirt covering it. It understands that what feels like burial is actually planting. Some of you think you've been buried by disappointment, rejection, or loneliness. But heaven says you've been planted, and what is planted must grow. The unseen work beneath the soil is where the real miracle happens. The roots take hold long before the fruit ever shows. So when you feel hidden, know that you are being strengthened for what's coming. The seed that grows in silence cannot be uprooted by storms because its foundation was built in secret. There will be moments when God tells you, say nothing. Do nothing. Just trust me. And it will hurt because silence feels like delay. And being unseen feels like insignificance. But in truth, you are being prepared to carry the weight of what you prayed for. God does not allow premature exposure. He hides you until you are strong enough to withstand the spotlight. If the seed surfaced too early, it would die under the heat of the sun. So he lets you grow in the dark, where no one claps, no one celebrates, and no one understands. But heaven is watching every inch of your growth. The hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. That's where character is formed. That's where humility is born. That's where faith becomes unshakable. You don't need the world to validate what God has begun. Let the quiet become your sanctuary. Let the stillness become your teacher. For there is a power that comes only from being unseen, from doing your best without recognition, from serving in silence and loving without being noticed. And when the time is right, when the soil has done its work and your roots have gone deep enough, the same God who hid you will reveal you. You won't have to announce yourself, because your fruit will speak louder than your name ever could. So cherish your hiddenness. It is not smallness, it is sacredness. The hidden seed carries the future in its silence. And when it breaks through the soil, the world will finally see what heaven always knew was growing all along. There is a beauty in obeying God quietly, without needing anyone to notice, without explaining to those who cannot understand. True obedience doesn't shout. It simply walks where it is led. It doesn't seek recognition, it seeks alignment. The glory of obedience is not in the applause that follows. It's in the peace that floods your soul when you know you've done what He asked, even when it cost you something. Heaven sees what men overlook. The quiet yes that no one hears echoes louder in eternity than the loudest public declaration. When God whispers, He is not looking for performers, He is looking for listeners. Hearts that respond before they are seen. There is something sacred about the moment you obey without full understanding. That's where faith is born. You step even when the path is hidden. You move even when your knees are trembling. You give even when you have nothing left. That is the kind of obedience that catches heaven's attention. Not because of the size of the act, but because of the purity behind it. Sometimes God will test your obedience not in front of a crowd, but in a quiet room where only you and He are watching. And that's where true glory descends, not on the stage, but in the secret place where surrender meets trust. Quiet obedience will often be misunderstood. People may call you foolish for walking away from opportunities, for staying still when others are running, for trusting God when nothing seems to move. But that's the beauty of it. It's not for them to understand. The one who obeys quietly is the one who has learned that God's timing is better than man's applause. You stop explaining and start resting. You stop defending your obedience and start worshiping through it. The quiet yes becomes your song. The unseen act becomes your offering. Every great move of God begins with a hidden yes. Abraham left his home before anyone saw the promise. Mary believed the angel before anyone believed her story. Jesus obeyed the Father unto death before the resurrection revealed His glory. The pattern has never changed. Obedience first, glory later. When you obey quietly, you become a vessel that God can trust with His power. He can pour through you without resistance, because you've proven that His voice is enough. You don't need confirmation when you already have conviction. And there comes a moment when the quiet path you walked in faith bursts into light. What you did in secret becomes the fragrance of your life. The world sees the glory, but heaven knows the obedience. Every tear, every silent surrender, every hidden act of faith becomes the oil that anoints your destiny. The glory does not come from what you said, but from what you did when no one was looking. So keep obeying quietly. Keep walking faithfully. For in your quiet obedience, God is writing the loudest testimony your life will ever tell. There is a danger in speaking too soon, in revealing what heaven has not yet finished forming. When you share what God whispered before it has matured, you invite voices that were never meant to shape your destiny. Some things are holy because they are hidden. Some promises are strong only because they have not yet been exposed to human opinion. When you speak too early, you give room for doubt to enter, for jealousy to rise, and for confusion to distort what was once clear in your spirit. God often keeps his work in silence, not to frustrate you, but to protect what is still fragile. A premature revelation is like showing a seed before it has roots. It may look alive, but it cannot survive the heat of exposure. There are visions that must stay buried until faith is strong enough to sustain them. God's timing is not about delay, it's about preparation. When you try to reveal what he is still shaping, you risk birthing something incomplete. The enemy cannot attack what he does not know, and that is why heaven hides its greatest works in obscurity. The womb of silence is where miracles are nurtured. Only when the time is right does God allow them to be seen. Sometimes your excitement becomes your greatest threat. You want to tell people what God told you because it burns within you, but not everyone who listens will understand. Some will doubt it. Some will twist it. Some will mock it. And their unbelief can plant seeds of discouragement in your heart. That is why God calls some seasons holy ground. You must remove the sandals of exposure and tread carefully in his mystery. Protect what he told you in the stillness of prayer. Not every promise is meant for public conversation. Some words are meant to be guarded in the chambers of your spirit until he says, now. You may not realize it, but silence is a weapon. When you hold your peace, you keep the enemy guessing. You let God fight battles you don't even see. The premature revealing of a divine plan can drain its power. But when you stay hidden, your strength multiplies in stillness. The unseen preparation gives authority to the visible manifestation. Every person who ever carried a divine assignment had to endure the test of secrecy. Joseph spoke too soon and was sold by his brothers. Yet even that became part of his training. Learn from it. Wait until God himself reveals what he is doing through you. And when the time comes, you won't have to say a word. The fruit of obedience will speak for you. The promise will testify on your behalf. The same mouths that once doubted will stand in awe of what they never saw coming. So hold the vision close. Let it breathe in silence. Let it grow in darkness. Because what God is preparing in you is not meant to be proven. It's meant to be revealed in its perfect time. And no power in hell can stop what heaven unveils when it's ready. There is a sacred strength in walking through what you do not understand. The unknown is not your enemy. It is your training ground. It's where faith is refined and dependence on God becomes more than words. When you can no longer see the path, but still take the next step, that is strength. When you don't have the answers but still trust his voice, that is power. The unknown humbles you. It breaks the need to control. It teaches you that God's hand can be trusted even when his plan cannot yet be traced. In the unknown, you learn that peace does not come from clarity. It comes from confidence in the one who leads. So many people crave certainty, but certainty doesn't grow faith. It grows comfort. God hides certain seasons because he wants to see if you'll still worship in the dark. The silence of uncertainty becomes the classroom where trust is born. He strips away your understanding so he can replace it with revelation. When everything familiar fades, you begin to see that he is still enough. The unknown is not emptiness. It's the sacred space where God introduces himself all over again. And every time you choose to stay when you could run, every time you choose to believe when you could doubt, heaven calls it strength. The unknown can feel like wilderness. You look around and find no direction, no visible promise, no sign of progress. But it's in that wilderness that God reveals his provision. He becomes the manna for each day, the cloud that covers by day, the fire that guides by night. You don't know what tomorrow holds, but you begin to see that he holds tomorrow. There is a beauty in not knowing. It keeps your heart soft, your faith alive, your dependence pure. Because when you don't know what's next, you lean harder into the one who does. And in time, you realize that the unknown was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. It stripped away your pride. It silenced your fear. It taught you how to walk by faith and not by sight. You discover strength you never knew you had, not because you understood everything, but because you refused to give up when nothing made sense. The unknown becomes the proving ground of faith, the place where God makes ordinary hearts unshakable. So don't despise the seasons where you can't see the full picture. The unknown is where the greatest miracles are born. When you surrender your need to understand, you make room for God to do the impossible. Strength is not found in certainty. It's found in surrender. And when you reach the other side, you'll look back and realize that every unanswered question was a stepping stone leading you deeper into his purpose, his presence, and his power. There is a beauty in waiting for God's timing that words can barely hold. The world will always rush you, pressure you, tell you you're behind. But heaven never moves by clocks. It moves by purpose. What feels delayed is often divine protection. When God says, "Not yet," he's not denying you, he's developing you. Every waiting season is an unseen preparation for a moment only he can arrange. You see, divine timing isn't about making things happen when you want. It's about them happening when they can no longer be undone. The doors he opens in his timing will never require you to beg to keep them open. The reward of divine timing is peace. It's the moment you realize that what you waited for was worth every tear, every night of uncertainty, every why that went unanswered. You begin to see that his timing was not slow, it was strategic. He was aligning hearts, shaping character, moving pieces in ways you couldn't see. Sometimes God will delay what you prayed for until you're mature enough to hold it without losing your humility. The promise is not denied, it's preserved. And when it finally comes, it fits so perfectly that you understand why every door that once closed had to shut. There is something glorious about the day when heaven's timing collides with your faith. It doesn't come with striving or struggle. It comes with stillness. You won't have to force it, manipulate it, or explain it. What belongs to you in divine timing arrives carrying peace, not pressure. It comes quietly, but with power. You realize then that the waiting was never wasted. It was sacred. God was not just preparing the blessing. He was preparing you for the blessing. And now that it's here, you can handle it without fear of losing it. Those who wait on the Lord never walk in disappointment. They may bend under the weight of time, but they never break, because divine timing has a way of redeeming lost years.